Hey everybody, Earthbounder89 back here with another video. Happy Golden Week! Here in Japan we just had a week's worth long of holidays. Showa Day, which celebrates the last emperor, Children's Day, National Constitution Day, and a few other ones in between. But basically it's time I was able to take off, spend with family and friends, and also visit some new places. And along the way I found some new Godzilla soft vinyl figures. So I'm excited to show them to you. And starting off in Aomori City, in Aomori Prefecture, I found these. This is the larva form of Batra. I have back home in New Jersey, Mothra, and I never saw Batra, the figure, when I was back in the States. And I didn't see the movie actually until probably a few years ago. They just never really showed it on television for whatever reason, but just a really cool looking figure. I mean, not a whole heck of a lot of articulation. I mean, the head kind of rotates a little bit, but just really nice paint apps on this figure. And Bandai, they came a long way since the beginning. This is from about 92 when the movie came out, but yeah, during the 90s and 2000s, their figures came a long way from the 80s. But another figure I picked up the week before I got Monster X, so what other way to round out the collection but Kaiser King Ghidorah. Now, this is different than the other King Ghidorah figures or iterations you've seen in the films because it has 4 legs. I believe in one of the Mothra films he also had 4 legs. That may have been Death Ghidorah, if memory serves. I've never actually seen the film, but just a really nice sculpt on this guy. I mean, the tail in the back, it swivels, so you got a lot of movement there. The wings kind of can do a little movement. The heads rotate and the necks rotate as well. But just an impressive figure. Bandai really did a great job with this, and the paint looks really nice. No tag on it, unfortunately, but I got it for a killer deal, about a little less than $60 US. This figure goes for quite a bit online now. A lot of the Bandai stuff, just because you don't see it in the stores anymore. I mean, you see the new stuff, but these figures, they're starting to come into demand now because they did a decent job. And while the X Plus figures are nice, they're also very expensive, and these are a little more down to earth. But I also was able to find some of the vintage style figures, which I've really come to like, and they're just really charming in their simplicity. And one character I really am quite fond of, and they don't really have a heck of a lot of figures of him, so when I saw this I had to jump on it. This is Mogera. Now, this particular one is actually of the prototype. They re-released it. This was M1 back in 2005. They had the Maru-san branding. But basically, the figure that was actually released back in the day didn't have the antenna, and the body was a little different in terms of its shape. But it has like the blade, and just a cool looking figure. I mean, I love the coloring on this, and just, you don't see a lot of Mogera stuff, so for me this was a no-brainer. I had to buy him. He was around $40. Batra, by the way, was $10, so he was by far the cheapest. But this next figure, I know a lot of people are not a fan of the character. Even now, for me, watching the movies he's in, it's kind of goofy, but just childhood nostalgia was ringing true with this, so I had to get it, and it was dirt cheap. Minya. Now, this is a 1992 produced figure by Bandai under the Vintage Bullmark label. And when they came out with this figure originally, they had a really small one in like the 60s. Then later on, they made the taller figure like this size, but it was red vinyl. This one's a green vinyl, like an olive green, with silver highlights on the front and back. And not a very good-looking figure, but it was just rose-tinted glasses with this one, so I said, why not? Just add it. It was like 20 bucks. So you don't see these very often. So pretty much my motto: you don't see it, or when you see it, pick it up. And on the theme of Godzilla's Revenge or All Monsters Attack, I saw this, and it's an original vinyl vintage figure, and it's Gabara, and you can probably see that there's paint wear on this, I mean, but this figure is about 48 years old. I mean, it's a true vintage figure, and I paid less than $50 for him. I mean, this was an absolute steal. It's just such a unique figure, and just it's one of those goofy monsters that they don't make a whole lot of stuff for. And in fact, it's one of the original ones. Is kind of cool. The interesting story by this was Maru-san was going bankrupt at the time, and they didn't release anything for Destroy All Monsters, but they wanted to have one last hurrah with the Godzilla's Revenge line, but they went bust, and in 1969, and the following year, Bullmark, they released the figure actually because they bought the molds, and a lot of the first run figures still have the Maru-san marking, the little bird, whereas the Bullmark label didn't show up until a little bit later and is actually kind of harder to find. But just happy to add them to the collection because you don't see a heck of a lot of stuff with Gabara. And this figure I actually picked up in Akita Prefecture at Monsaido outlet store, Akita, which is amazing. If you're ever in Akita Prefecture, check out Monsaido outlet store. You won't regret it. There's a lot of good stuff there, from video games to figures to assortments of other things. But another vintage style figure I got was Megalon. Previously I was waxing and waning. Oh, I can't find one, but patience pays off sometimes, and this particular one bears the Bullmark label, and it's from 2006, and is a show exclusive figure, or this paint scheme rather was, according to Club Tokyo, it was a show exclusive. I'm not entirely sure what show, but just really cool. I like the coloring and the it's kind of metallic, so it's pretty cool looking. And also in Akita, I picked up some Bandais, and I picked up the 8-inch Gigan from Final Wars, and this one does have the tag. I paid around $40 for him, and in my book that's an absolute steal because I saw the 6-inch version, which wasn't nearly as detailed, and they wanted $60 for an Aomori City. So for me, this is just an impressive looking figure, and said why not, add him to the collection. Another figure of the same scale that I picked up was actually a theater exclusive, and I have one of them, but this one is pretty unique. This is the black vinyl Kiryu from 2003, and you can see it bears the original sticker from the movie theater, and he's got his rocket booster on, and the black just makes the eyes pop on this figure. This looks really cool, and he was about $40 also, so said, you know what, you don't run across these very often, so when you do, get them. But the last figure I picked up in Akita, also with the tag, is Final Wars Rodan, or Radon, however you prefer to pronounce it. But just a really cool sculpt. I have the Showa version of Radon, and back home in America I have the Fire Rodan figure, so this one kind of rounds out the collection, so I was happy to add him. He was about $20, so I've seen him maybe only one other time, and he was beat up and $5 more without the tag, so this was a killer deal. So definitely, if I get back down to Akita Prefecture, I'm going to check out Monsaido again and see what new stuff they have. There's plenty of other stuff there they had that I wanted, but my wallet couldn't afford. But the last place that I went was actually in Iwate Prefecture in Morioka City. There's two Eurosias, but disclaimer, the southern shop is the one you want to go to. That has the collectibles, namely video games, figures, and things like that, whereas the other store is mostly just clothes or housewares. I mean, if that's what you're into, good for you. But for me, the southern store was the better one. And I picked up two figures there for $35 each, and this one in particular was definitely a score. I was looking for this one online. It was ridiculously priced, and I actually had it in my hand as a 12-year-old in a comic shop I went to. I passed on it because I didn't have my allowance money, but then I dread to find that the figure is now kind of a pain to get and pretty expensive even without the tag, like around $80. But the movie monster series Titanosaurus, So I saw this and my eyes lit up. I was like, oh my god, it's like it finally came back to me. So it's a pretty cool sculpt. You also don't see a lot of this guy either. Like the late Showa monsters, for whatever reason, you don't see a lot of them in terms of figures. They released him again in a box set with 1975 Godzilla, and the paint is a little different, but this one's like a deep red, and it's just plain cool looking, so I was happy to add him. But the last one I got, I'm a big GMK mark, so basically for me when I saw this, it was an instant buy, and that is GMK Theater exclusive King Ghidorah. Now, this figure, I was ecstatic to see the tag on it too, because believe it or not, I saw this in Akita at Monsaido, and it was $40, and I was like, kind of hemming and hawing, should I get it? And I was like, I passed on it, because I didn't know if I would find something in another store when I was in my travels. But this one does have the tag and was $5 cheaper, so sometimes patience does pay off, so they're out there if you really look for them. But this one's really cool in that it's a yellow gold colored vinyl that's translucent, and it has injected gold glitter. So I have the Baragon one, which is just a plain red clear vinyl, and I'm hoping to see if I can come across the Godzilla and the Mothra one to round out the collection. But just together, this and the Kaiser King Ghidorah just on the shelf just look ridiculously cool. I mean, it's cool to have two different versions of Ghidorah as well, so. And Bandai, kudos to them. They did a really good job with both sculpts. I mean, the artists they had working for them did a really nice job. And the thing that's cool about the GMK Ghidorah is he kind of, in some ways, takes really cool features of the Heisei as well as the Showa era Ghidorah, but also puts its own new twist on it, and he's probably my favorite design of the character. But altogether, I cleaned up pretty well. I cleaned out my wallet too, but these were all a very good deal, and a lot of them I was actually actively looking for, so I was able to check them off my list. So hopefully when I get my next paycheck, I can start checking some of the shops again, so I can show you guys some more new stuff. But if you liked the video, give it a like, subscribe. I hope to have more content coming your way. But until next time, guys, have a good one.